We have a podcast right now on
and Oceania. Oceania. Don't forget about it. That's all.
I'm broke. I'm broke, Tony Stark. Maybe.
Story and political shift. I don't know whether we have to go there. No.
Later, let's have a podcast on that.
Keep smurfing.
direct experience. I'm the youngest here, and I bet I'm the youngest.
Hi everyone, and a warm welcome to the very first episode of Smurf House, a podcast where we mostly discuss space stuff but also end up rambling about a range of other topics from K-pop to NFTs. For today's episode, we have the entire team of APOSA, or the Asia Pacific Oceania Space Association, as our guests.
For those who haven't heard about APOSA before, it is a sustainable space community development in Asia Pacific Oceania region.
This is your host Pooja, aka the Wandering Stargazer, and
Prathamesh, aka Techlord at Smurf House, from Team Space Smurf. So without much ado, let
the
Smurfing begin.
Perfect. Hi everyone. Hi Team APOSA. So glad to have you guys on board. Let us begin with a quick round of introductions. If most of you all can give a quick round within 30 seconds to a minute. Let's begin with Sindhu, who I know is from India. So Sindhu, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey team, hi everyone who is listening to this podcast. So I'm Sindhu. I did my doctorate in Singapore at Nanyang Technological University, and then I worked for a year with Rolls-Royce in Singapore, and then I moved back to India, and then that's where it all started. We met, and here it is. We are, and we can move on to the next person for now, and we can later come back.
Thank you, Sindhu. Let's move on to Quentin, who's from Japan. Quentin, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Quentin Verspieren. I'm a French assistant professor of space policy in Japan at the Graduate School of Public Policy of the University of Tokyo. I'm not a policy expert originally. I started, like some of you here, as a space engineer, aeronautical and space engineer, both in France and Japan. And at some point, I got involved with space policy, and I decided to learn more about policy, and I did a PhD in public policy at the University of Tokyo, where I stayed until today. Thank you.
Thanks, Quentin. Let's move on to Runggu, who is from Indonesia. Runggu, can you please tell us a little bit?
Okay. Hello everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Runggu. I am a researcher in Indonesian space agency called LAPAN, but now it's changing because some institutional changes that we don't have to mention now. But yeah, my background is international law, but specifically in space law. And I took my master degree at Leiden University in the Netherlands. We can talk a little about that. Thank you.
That is indeed an interesting background, and we will circle back to that for sure. Moving on to Chawalwat or B. B, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone. Hope you're doing well. My name is Chawalwat, or you guys can call me B, and I'm currently a freshman at Chulalongkorn University. I study nanotechnology engineering. I have worked on a satellite called BCC-SAT, which is a satellite that was designed and built by a high school student in Thailand. And I'm currently working on a space tech education, like it's called the startup also. Yeah, that would be it.
Right. Thanks, B. And moving on to the last and my favorite member, Alina. Alina from India, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, first of all, flattery from the beginning. Yes, I like it. Yeah, hi again, everyone. My name is Alina. I am a master's graduate in geopolitics and international relations from the University of Manipal. Yeah, during my master's, I started to focus more on space policy, and yeah, one thing led to the other, and here I am doing podcast. Yeah, anyway, I would like to call myself as the mood maker of APOSA, if that's all that, I mean, if everyone agrees to it. So yeah.
Wow, this I can see the dynamic background and the fact that everyone is so comfortable with each other from the beginning. That's amazing, I think. Prathamesh, what do you think about that? Huh?
I totally agree with that. Well, I guess our listeners would like to know how APOSA came into existence. What was the main purpose behind it, and what role does Space Smurfs play within APOSA?
I think Sindhu is a better person to start off the whole question itself. So yeah, Sindhu, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. Wow, that's like a more like the birth of APOSA is more personal to all of us here, I believe. So we all met in APSGOW 2020, and we were just random people who just met in a working group. And then we met so Quentin and Max were our moderators of the working group and mentors. They were giving us resources about the topic, and we were all discussing during the workshop. And then we decided after the workshop to actually go ahead with an IAC paper, and we all came together to propose the abstract and started discussing about what's in going on in the region. And that's where it all started. And towards an end of like over 3 months or so, we decided that okay, there is a lot more things that can be done in the region. We can bring in more space activities to the region because there is a lot of potential available in this zone, right? And there is only limited number of places where they can exhibit this kind of talent, and also there is a lot of need for nurturing this talent. And that's why we thought, okay, let's do something about it. And I think this is the right place where Space Smurfs can start its introduction. I invite Alina to start with the how it came into existence. Yeah, that has a funny story.
I mean, that's a smooth transitioning, but yeah, I mean, well, to APOSA's formation and everything, you should also add the endless phone calls that I had with Sindhu. Like, I was in Manipal that time, and I will be standing at 9:30, 10:30 at night on the balcony and talking to Sindhu, bro, like, this is not how we should do, this is how we should do. We should contact this person, like, a lot of phone calls. At one point, all my phone history was like Sindhu, 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 Sindhu. Like it was totally her, like we calling each other. And yeah, I mean, we launched APOSA on 26th June, like she mentioned. And at that time, we wanted to do this similar background thing. And we came up with this blue background with the names on top of this side and the APOSA logo on this side. I don't think we had a logo at that time, but yeah, that was there. And towards the end, we stayed back and we took screenshots and everything. And when we were sharing the screenshots to the WhatsApp group, like it all looked like a lot bluish, like more blue color on the chat. And I texted Sindhu separately saying that okay, now it looks like a big blue Smurf family. And she kind of made it into the group, and it, I don't know, like it went on and it became like Space Smurfs because we were focusing on space. And at that time we also wanted to carry out this, ongoing informal meetings or activities with the space community that we just created. And we were thinking of so many things, and they were like, okay, webinar is a choice, but we were like, okay, webinar is also not so interesting. And then a lot of things came into the table. But at that time, thanks to my friends and those who made Clubhouse a booming thing that time, I was like so annoyed at that fact that it was kind of like everywhere. And I was like, okay, let's join Clubhouse. It kind of have this platform where you can talk or interact with people like that. You don't need to have to show your face, you just have to talk. So yeah, I mean, then we started this club on Clubhouse. We became Space Smurfs, and we hosted 13 sessions. Last till September, we had 13 sessions, and now we are relaunching, which makes me so happy. Yeah. Yep.
Just to add a couple of more things about APOSA. So one, like we all were also discussing about what can be given through APOSA. So there were two important points that we actually figured out that might be helpful. One is actually providing a simple and continuous platform that connects the community with the experts. And that's where the strongest hold of Space Smurfs has been there since we launched it. And that's going to be relaunched, which is a really great thing where people can come and talk to so many people, right? It's not many moons away. So that's first thing first. And second is actually to bring in multidisciplinary thought process into the community. So forge a community of problem solvers. And all this we try to achieve through friendship, because I think more than the team being APOSA formal team, it's because we made it through as friends as well. We grew into something more than just a formal collaboration. Yeah. So that is something I want to highlight about APOSA. Thank you.
That is great, and I'm so glad Prathamesh made a point to ask this question, because I think even in some of your bios it is written, right? Spreading through space friendship, spreading our word through space friendship, which is amazing, and a lot of people may not know, but I was one of the audience members in one of those Clubhouse Space Smurfs sessions, and that's how I am actually a part of the family now, I feel, because I ended up joining there, and that is one thing which really is sets Space Smurf and APOSA apart, is that there is no hierarchy. Everyone can just come up and speak to anyone. Which is one point where I would say all of you all who are our viewers should also keep in mind. We are on most of the social media platforms now, Instagram, LinkedIn, Clubhouse. So please come and say hi to us. And especially on Clubhouse, we regularly host sessions which will soon begin. And that's your chance to directly speak to all these experts. So please don't miss out on that. Most of our links will be in the description box below. So yeah, moving on, one of the other points that you mentioned, Sindhu, is the multidisciplinary approach, which is something that I am personally intrigued by, because I am also from an arts background, but in a space field which is also heavily technical and technology centered. How do you ensure, why is it that multidisciplinary approach is very important to you? And I think Quentin here can also please add in as to why is it important, and how do you ensure that it's being applied across the different initiatives of APOSA, Space Smurfs, as well as Cosmic Sandbox?
I think Quentin, you can go ahead first, and then I'll tell them about the sandbox. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I mean, as you've heard from my biography, I believe in multidisciplinarity. So I started studying in undergraduate kind of theoretical mathematics and physics. Then from science, I moved to engineering with aeronautics and aerospace. And now I'm doing policy. So I kind of represent this importance of looking at different perspective. Of course, you don't have to study everything. That's a bit tiring at some point. So you don't have all to do that. But basically, what I want to say is that multidisciplinarity is not important. It's essential for high-tech fields like space. So not only space, we can talk about a lot of high-tech fields, as long as they involve, I would say, both complex systems and complex environments, complex ecosystems. And to illustrate why multidisciplinarity is essential, let's consider one simple use of space, like using pictures taken by satellite to improve agricultural practices, let's say. What you need first is a satellite. So you need people who know how to make the satellite. But then the people making the satellites, they will make the infrastructure of the satellite, all the components. But the people who know how to make the satellite, they don't necessarily know how to make the camera that will take the picture and what kind of camera is needed. So they will contact people who make camera. But these people who make camera, they will be like, I don't know agriculture. I don't know which wavelength is useful for my observation. So you need scientists who know about, agricultural practices, vegetation, remote sensing. And so just for making the satellite, you have space engineer, you have optics expert, agricultural expert, data processing experts. Then if you have a satellite that you cannot communicate with, it's pointless. So you need communication engineer to have the link between the satellite and the ground. Then when you have the data, you need people to process the data. Then you need people to secure the data infrastructure. But using data from satellite, you also need some rules to use them properly. So you need some legal experts that will make the regulations. Maybe you need also to promote the practices. So you will need experts of policy, but also experts of business that may help develop startups too. And so just for this simple thing of taking a picture so that you can grow more rice or more corn, can you see the number of people you need to have? And if you miss the perspective of one of these many actors, the whole process is impossible to set up. And the thing is that in APOSA's event, or we actually deal with things that are much more complicated than just improving growing corn or rice, disaster management, for instance. And so I will stop here, but I hope you understand well why we need to have all these people. Then the challenge is, how do we bring all these people, all this knowledge into APOSA? And I agree perfectly with what was said before. Space Smurf is a way to do that. So yes, I will stop here. I'm sure Sindhu has a lot of things to add.
Thank you, Quentin. That was like a perfect example that anyone could understand why it's needed, the thought process of multiple disciplines. And for me, the reason comes from a very personal experience over the last 1 year. In this team in itself actually is a multidisciplinary team, as you can all, as you heard from the bios that earlier it was said. So over the 1 year, I realized why certain things were done in a specific country and why certain things were not that easy. It is not something as simple as, just go and do it. Why are you not doing it? It's easier to say that way, but you need to understand multiple disciplines to actually figure out the depth of the issue and the why certain things are not as fast as done when compared to the rest of the places. So these kind of perspectives from different people actually gave me an idea about the industry that is much more than actually the knowledge of us, satellite components or something like that. So I think that is when I was actually personally attracted to this concept of multidisciplinary, because now that the region and many countries in the region is actually growing and getting more involved in the industry, I think the community also has the responsibility to understand why certain things are still not in place as they expect it to be. And also there are opportunities and challenges that lies if they want to take up something to do something in the industry. And yeah, so that is why we thought, okay, let's try and focus to give this sort of a thought process, multiple perspectives, so that they can understand a bit more like how we all did. And that's where we actually had this third action plan of forging a community of problem solvers, which is through our Cosmic Sandbox workshop. So the workshop in itself follows a design thinking process, and it involves like at every challenge theme. And each challenge theme, for example, like Quentin mentioned, it can be Earth observation for disaster and risk management. It can be Earth observation for Earth intelligence. So it can be the challenge topic can be changing. But what we try to focus within the workshop is that we cover at least 5 disciplines. Just like how Quentin rightly put out, business, policy frameworks, end user, what are their requirements, what are the data that are available if it's in case of EO, whether there is an open access, closed access. So you get to think about all these sort of things. And of course, we also include the booming new space and business perspective, whether there are investments and budgets and policies in place for new things to come up. So this particular thought process was also inspired from the Space Smurfs sessions that were there in the last session. There were that had multiple different disciplines, experts from multiple different disciplines, and they for sure ensured that gave us a lot of perspectives, which made us think more and work on it more. So I think that is why this platform is much more than as any podcast could just be. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess the analogy and the examples that you gave in both were great. It actually reminded me specifically of Avengers, because I feel a lot of people otherwise look at heroes, superheroes to be working in their specific domains, And what essentially something like a Cosmic Sandbox is doing is trying to bring a team of all these heroes working together, trying to solve one, same problem. So yeah, perhaps you are, I don't know, it's a very funny anecdote, but that's what came to my mind.
I mean, if you want to give characters to each of us, I call dibs for Iron Man. Sorry.
I know
I'm
you
calling
are
dibs.
gonna go for it.
I mean, bro, I'm like a No, I'm broke. I'm broke Tony Stark. Maybe. Never mind. Yeah.
Well,
Moving on, Prathamesh.
that was an amazing explanation. Quentin, I totally agree with you that it is absolutely necessary for each and every domain to come in. And as we say that space is for everybody, and it is as just as it is said. We can't rely on just one particular domain. So we have to be collaborative in nature if you want to go for more deep space exploration. And there is this quote I remember from one of my mentors. He always used to say me that there are no boundaries in space, and and we can't even see any boundaries from space. And most of the astronauts face this, and people certainly need to know this thing that if there are no virtual boundaries, then why should we create a boundary? And this is a necessity that people should be aware about. Coming towards the point of awareness, a lot of us might be unaware of the Indonesian Space Agency, and Runggu here has worked with it. For Runggu, how was your experience with LAPAN or Indonesian Space Agency, and uh, now with BRIN, the National Research and Innovation Agency, and how does that help you with your work in APOSA?
Well, yeah. So my experience with Lapan was very interesting because I can get first-hand experience in creating and developing our national space law and policies, while also paying attention to the international development. I was fortunate enough to take part in drafting regulations. Like right now, we are drafting regulations on spaceport and also commercial space activities. From that, not only gaining knowledge in space law and policy, but I can also gain basic technical knowledge on space. And I also had the opportunity to be Indonesian delegation in the UN COPOS session twice. So it's very interesting and very rich, And as for APOSA, I think those works obviously very in line with APOSA's agenda. I can be one of APOSA's select, maybe you can say that, for Indonesia, as well as being the spokesperson of Indonesia for APOSA, because sometimes I can give first-hand update on Indonesian network, like when Space Smurf had a session update on the development of space activities and policies in Indonesia, while also advocating APOSA for my network. Like when we Space Smurf in the previous 1.0 had a session with one of Indonesian diplomat regarding space diplomacy. So we kind of make some sort of announcement, not announcement, but like promoting each other, like promoting Indonesia, but also promoting APOSA. And it is very interesting. I hope that the relationship between APOSA and Indonesia will go further. We can bring more diversity as well into APOSA and can strengthen space activities in Asia Pacific and Oceania. Don't forget about it. That's all.
If I can add just something, because you said people may not know about the Indonesian Space Agency, but something that is always impressive, and I like to remind it, the Indonesian Space Agency was created in 1963. It's one of the first space agencies in the world, actually. It's like 5 years after NASA, 1 year after the French Space Agency, and way before Japan, before India, before most of the great space powers. So pretty impressive history of space in Indonesia. Yeah.
Interesting history and political shift. Yeah. I don't know whether we have to go there. No.
Later, let's have a podcast on that.
Yeah, that was quite a concise answer as well, Runggu, which made me realize, Alina, very quickly, within 1 minute, would you tell me, how do we see APOSA collaborating with different space agencies later on in the future? If you'd like to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, We have, I don't know. I mean, maybe in future if we get a chance, but yeah, like my, it's one of my dreams to collab with SpaceX. Maybe I can dream way too high, but yeah. Please, Elon Musk, if you're seeing this, hi.
Nice. That's a great way to leave that question. Coming back to, okay, I am from a policy background, so I'm a little biased towards policy questions. So I'm going to hit one more up for Quentin. Okay, now that we see that the commercial space sector is growing at the pace that it is, like Alina mentioned, SpaceX and the likes of them. How important do you think is it for countries individually to have space policy? And do you think there are certain pointers like a general framework which is important to foster more space commercial industry, whether it be at a Asia Pacific regional, sub-regional level or a country level? Do you think there are some very important like essential pointers? If you could elaborate on that.
Yes, so I think my answer will surprise you, being a space policy researcher, but I don't think space policy is the priority to help develop commercial actors and new space actors. I think Rungu's field is more important to start. And I think it's important to distinguish between space law and space policy on that point. Because the space industry is a field with a lot of risk in terms of technology. You need very advanced technology, at least if we talk about kind of really developing hardware. Data processing is a bit different. But I think one of the first priority to ensure that there are commercial actors developing in a country is that they feel that the environment is safe, that there is the regulatory and legal framework that will protect their activities, and that they know what is acceptable, what is not. And because entrepreneurs will not take risk developing something if there is too much lack of clarity on whether something could be banned or prevented, or so of course it doesn't necessarily mean developing a comprehensive national space law. It's good, of course. I would never advise against that. But you can take various kind of provisions, legal provisions, to protect specific areas of business. And one point that all countries should start with is ratifying international space law treaties. I would say, with the exception of the Moon Agreement, that is a bit special and a bit debated. But at least the major treaties should be ratified, and more than just ratifying, their provisions should be implemented in national law. Because it provides a lot of clarity for a lot of things, and it also helped the country build an international credibility. You cannot be credible in the space sector if you didn't even sign the Outer Space Treaty, or which some countries are not doing, and I think that's really problematic. And then at a later stage, when you have a safe environment, you can consider policy to, let's say, organize some form of support to innovation and entrepreneurship. And you asked me some pointers about that. I think it's way too complicated and probably way too long for now, but there is a lot of things that can be done to help with R&D, fund R&D, support innovation, increase the number of patents, so strengthen also the IP protection, intellectual property protection, which is kind of legal. So there are a lot of things that can be done, but really I want to say that the legal and regulatory framework is, in my mind, what should come first.
Right. Thank you so much. I think that's actually, I might not be looking for that answer, but that's exactly the reason why I asked you that question, because you brought in a perspective that not many will think of.
Continuing the session, my next question comes to B. The space industry is growing and it is utilizing technology like 5G, advanced satellite system, 3D printing, big data, quantum communication systems, and quantum technology in general, which are about to bring reformation to our operations in space. what are your views over development of nanobots in space exploration with all those technologies, and how we can see upgrading ourselves, going for deep space exploration in terms of human exploration?
Well, thank you for the question. It's actually like a very good question. Uh, I'll put it in the way that nanotechnology is like it's a trending field right now. Not even like not only in space, but in like regular technology, because uh, we are trying to get lots of things smaller, like the phone, the CPU, the RAM, like pretty much every kind of electronic stuff. They are trying to get it smaller, and that would have like a lot of effects actually on space, because lots of things would be more efficient if we can get like certain part smaller, or like maybe just an insulation layer, or maybe like a shell layer, like maybe smaller, thinner, or maybe lighter, that is actually like will be very impactful, because that reduce the costs of the fuel used to put it into orbit. And also that nanotechnology will affect like lots of things when we do deep space exploration, especially colonization on maybe Moon or Mars, because nanotechnology is like it's let's say it like it's things that is the base is like it's the base of every creation. We are trying to make it into like in the atoms. We are trying to customize everything so it can have every property that we want it to have. Let's say like that you mentioned like Iron Man suit, that is actually like very it's it's actually like a great great examples of nanotechnology that can be used in space. For example, that is like the most similar to Iron Man suit is the space suit itself. When the astronaut have to wear it and then go into like have a spacewalk, and it, a spacewalk is actually like it is a very risky activity to do, because we don't know what would happen. Something may be broken, or maybe some debris will fly by and then hit the astronaut and he will like fly away. So something like the self-repairing that it was shown in the movie, that would be a lot that would say it would be a lot safer for astronauts, so like they don't have to really worry that, okay, if something hit me I'm gonna die or something like that. So that's one thing. And then for deep space exploration, like, as I said, uh, if we can make things smaller, if we can make things more efficient and maybe like thinner, lighter, that would affect like every kind of system. So if you can make, let's say like a small camera that can have like uh, very good resolution, that would mean we can have more space to put another payload or maybe put another system inside. So, and we will have like to we only have to pay like the same cost of putting it in orbit, or like the fuel cost. So nanotechnology is actually like I would say it's like the next, how would say it, like it's the next AI. I would say it in that way. So it's gonna be trending very soon, but it's still a field that lots of people don't really know about that it exists, myself included. I was just aware of it like 2 years ago when I started doing my work about this kind of stuff. So it might be some sort of like scary, because like it involves lots of hard chemistry and also lots of physics and lots of maths. But it would be like pretty. I would say it would be a great investment if you like don't really know what to do. Nanotechnology is basically the basic of every kind of creation. So if you know nanotechnology, or like basically material, so and pretty much you can work with any kind of engineering field.
Yeah, well, for space applications, it is required for us to make things more compact as possible. So we could carry much payload up in the orbit.
Yeah,
That
I
was a
mean, I
wonderful
don't
answer.
understand. Yeah, that was definitely Prathamesh, isn't it? I mean, I don't understand anything about science and technology as such, but from what I gather, from what you said, the cheaper and lighter and faster it is, the more we'll be able to faster, we'll be able to go out to space, and the more access everyone will be able to have. So that definitely sounds good to me. The other aspect that I think I have been noticing is that, which I think I mentioned in the beginning as well, that it feels like one big space family. Even though we are from different, different parts of Asia Pacific, it doesn't feel like there is a gap. And is this the same kind of dynamic that you guys share when you all are working on a kind of a project, or what is the inner workings of APOSA? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll answer. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I totally I agree with your point that, APOSA is kind of like a family. And yeah, I mean, like, even, the core team that we have today, like the five of us have like distinct, what do you call, capabilities that they bring into the table when we are working on a particular project, let's say. And I mean, we also have like different, let's say, career pathways or experiences. And I mean, the amalgamation of all these things becomes like the outcome of APOSA, or what we plan to do within the Asia Pacific space domain. And the same goes with new members who will be joining the team. Yeah, of course, you might have seen that we will be expanding the team. So yeah, you can check out the LinkedIn profile, which will be linked in the description box, and see whether if you want to join us, and like if there are any vacancies open, apply for the vacancies. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the team also will have such kind of a structure, because I feel like, when I wanted to do something like APOSA, my main drive was like, okay, when I came into something like space policy or the whole outer space international relations and things like that, it was quite difficult for me, I will say, like, to know like where I should stand, like what are the things that I'm supposed to do, things like that. And the more I started to learn, the more I understood that, okay, it's not just me, it's like more than half of the not young professionals, students who are out there, is they're as clueless as I am. So that's where I was like, okay, now since space is becoming more and more like, important to our day-to-day life, and countries are taking it up as a part of their national infrastructure as well. So people should know, okay, this is happening in space. These are the things that is in space. Like, I'm pretty sure like the number of people who will know that there is something called space medicine or space biotechnology is like this much. Maybe. I mean, I wasn't aware about it. Like, I think I came to know about it like last year. If I was like, that's the case. So through APOSA, we want to bring in that awareness, and through Space Smurfs, we want to like make that, what do you call it, deconstructing the fact that, okay, space related matters are way too serious, and common people shouldn't, like only people who taught or learned about space should be getting involved in stuff like this. I mean, I want to deconstruct that fact. And also through APOSA, we are also giving this platform where young professionals, students can interact with us, and they're they're all part of this whole big family. So that's why, I mean, APOSA is definitely a family. And I think that's the whole idea of, we are trying to foster friendship within the Asia Pacific region, space community or space domain. So yeah, I think that concludes. I mean, if you guys have anything to add, please go ahead and add.
Actually, yeah. Oh, Quentin, you can go first.
No, I just wanted to say that for me, I have a slightly different perspective than you guys, because I was not part of the team at first. I was kind of the reason why you met, but I was not part of the team. I was a bit on the outside, because, as I think it was Sindhu who explained at the beginning, I was moderating their group during a regional conference, and I've done this kind of moderating for many conferences and many groups, but this group had a chemistry that many didn't have, and they were, I mean, they enjoyed working together. It was visible. They enjoyed discussing. They enjoyed working together, and I was really glad when they decided to continue even after the event, as Sindhu explained, writing an IAC paper, etc., etc. And then they suggested why are you staying on the outside? Why don't you join us for real? And I mean, who wouldn't want to work with these guys? So of course I said yes. And I encourage anyone who is interested in any areas of space, because we really deal with everything, to join, because I mean that's the process I followed. So I strongly recommend it. And just to react on what Alina was saying, that space is really for everyone, but even the most frightening part of space, which is space engineering, is actually accessible to everyone in every country. And that's something I taught once. I was going to Cambodia to teach to young students who, there is no space engineering education program in Cambodia. There never was. And the first lecture on space engineering was a lecture that I did with Max, who is also one of the mentors of APOSA. We went there and we said, okay, no one ever did it, let's do it. And the message we wanted to give them is that space engineering is not a real field of engineering, in the sense that there is nothing that is specific to space, except maybe the orbital dynamics kind of. This is very specific. But making a satellite, it's not space engineering. It's just making sure that you have a team where someone knows the mechanical engineering, the electrical engineering, the telecom, the, let's say, structural thermodynamics. And there is no single country in the world that doesn't have mechanical engineer, electrical engineers. And they just need to come together to make a satellite. So that's also something everyone should understand, not be afraid. And most of the people who are space engineers didn't study space engineering. I would say from my friends and the people I know that are making satellites, I'm sure 70 to 80% of them studied electrical or mechanical engineering, not space engineering. So everyone can be involved in the space sector, even in the hardware part. But sorry, B, I cut you. So your time.
That's okay. I was actually just going to add in what Alina said earlier about working with APOSA, because this is like only from my direct experience. I'm the youngest here, and I bet I'm the youngest. Okay, I'm only 19 this year.
Surprise!
Yeah, I'm going to be 20 this year, but yeah, I'm currently 19. And when I first joined APOSA, I was studying in high school. Even that, like I even studying in high school, and I was not, let's say, I was not able to tell them, and I do not want to tell them because I was kind of like worried that they would be like a bit judgmental, or like, oh yeah, you're just a little kid, something like that. And then I didn't that. It doesn't matter if you're a high school student or a bachelor or a master or like a young professional, but I can assure that working with APOSA, there will be no like bias about age or degrees or something like that, because we are here because we really like to do something, and we really want to contribute something to the space industry. And that kind of things that like bias is, it's not important. Like it's gonna drag us more than it's gonna like propel us forward. So I would like to send this message to let's say students, because I'm also a student. If you want to have like a chance to work with amazing people in space field, and maybe you can get to meet a lot of more amazing people, I would like you to join us at APOSA. You can find the link like in the podcast.
This is so true. This is so true. I mean, you will all see during your professional life or study life that you meet a bunch of supposedly experienced people who are absolutely uninteresting, people with PhD who are not that clever. So it really doesn't matter. If you're motivated, if you think you have something to contribute, if you're eager to learn, if you're just willing to be part of a team and learn things, just join. And that's a great message that you gave. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I think all three of you all have spoken and given some really important points. What I feel I can see highlighted, number one, is the inclusivity. No matter what age group, no matter what background, no matter which part of the world, and no matter what gender, because I think that's another silent observation we can make here, that otherwise in technical fields and technology fields specifically, we don't find as many women, on the panels, but here we have a lot of women as well as men on the panel, which is very refreshing to see as well. So I rarely see any group like that which is that inclusive about everything. So yeah, it's been amazing just to talk with you all, and I feel if I did not see that warmth and welcoming spirit within the Space Smurfs team, I wouldn't have bothered joining in either. Which is exactly, I think it just sort of is very there. I don't even have to speak about it or really go ahead and advertise it. I think if you just sort of end up participating, you end up starting to, being a little bit within the family and within the team. So I think that's just great, and I think that's with that, Prathamesh is going to start giving me all sorts of hints to look at the time, because our babbling tendencies are endless. uh, I would first of all like to thank the entire team of APOSA. Thank you so much. I know everyone is from different time zones. Thank you for making the time and coming here. It has been amazing to speak with all of you all. I have been hearing about you guys through Alina since quite some time. It's so lovely to finally see all of you guys in flesh and blood. So yeah.
Thank you for having us as well. This is it's a great time to be together, talk about what we have been through in the past 1 year. So I think we have so many exciting things ahead, and we hope for more people to join us to do things. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much again, Team APOSA, for such an amazing and enlightening session.
And thank you so much to our lovely audience for listening to the first episode of Smurf House.
One of our aims is to make it easier for you to be able to speak to experts in the various space fields. So if you would like that opportunity, please don't forget to join our club on all the socials. We host regular sessions on Clubhouse where you could directly speak with the experts from space fields.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, help us spread the word.
Like,
Share, comment, and subscribe to Space Smurf.